Alright guys, welcome back to Single Moms Book Club. And for our next book, we will be reading Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe.
Alright.
Sounds very interesting.
Now finish it in 2 days and we'll come back and discuss it. Now everyone help himself to some peanut butter and toothpaste sandwiches. So now that we've all eaten, we can now discuss some of the main themes of Things Fall Apart.
Essentially, I think one of the main themes is gender roles.
What about gender roles?
Well, I think in some societies, there are rigid gender roles, like men being super strong and women being really weak. And there are many ways that these societies deal with people who don't follow them.
Now that is a great way to put it. So let's dig into the text and find some examples.
I have 2 quotes that I can share with you all. The first quote is, Okonkwo ruled his household with a heavy hand. His wives, especially the youngest, lived in perpetual fear of his fiery temper. The second quote is, his mother and sisters worked hard enough, but they grew women's crops, like cocoa yams, beans, and cassava. Yam, the king of crops, was a man's crop.
Yeah, okay.
My first quote is, the elders, or Nadichi, meant to hear a report of Okonkwo's mission. At the end, they decided, as everybody knew they would, that the girl should go to Igbufi Udo to replace his murdered wife. As for the boy, he belonged to the clan as a whole, and there was no hurry to decide his fate. My second one is, on page 11, even as a little boy he had resented his father's failure and weakness, and even now he still remembered how he had told him that his father was Igbala. That was how Okonkwo first came to know that Igbala was not only another name for a woman, it could also mean a man who had taken no title. And my third quote from our article is, many women are just as ambitious as men when they begin their careers, but become so wearied by fighting against multiple structural and experiential barriers to their success that this ambition often wanes.
Wow!
My first quote is, the man who had contradicted him had no titles. That was why he had called him a woman. My second quote is, no matter how prosperous a man was, if he was unable to rule his women and his children, and especially his women, he was not really a man. And my third quote is, the law of Yumiophia is that if a woman runs away from her husband, her bride price is returned.
My first quote is on page 33. As a matter of fact, the tree was very much alive. Okonkwo's second wife had merely cut a few leaves off it to wrap some food, and she said so without further agreement. Okonkwo gave her a sound beating and left her and her only daughter weeping. My second quote is on chapter 5, page 38. Sit like a woman. My third quote is in chapter 17 on page 131. Neka had 4 previous pregnancies and childbirths, but each time she had born twins, and they had been immediately thrown away. Her husband and his family were already becoming highly critical of such a woman, and were not unduly perturbed when they found she had fled to join the Christians. It was good riddance.
Alright guys, good quotes. That's a wrap.